Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us again for those of you that are returning, and thanks for the first time for those that are here for the first time. If you're here for the first time, you need to fix that. Well, I mean, you are, but you aren't. First time for Unlimited,
I've
but
been
not
here
first time.
the whole time.
Whoa, that's a little creepy. I knew that I felt something behind me. That was you, wasn't it? All right, cool. So, since we're talking about you, this is Tyler, everyone. If you don't know Tyler, I am very, very sad for you. And if you do know Tyler,
I'm also very sad for you.
you're welcome. No, Tyler is a senior game designer with us, one of the game designers on Star Wars Unlimited.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're very excited to have Tyler here today to help me talk about organized play.
Yeah.
So today our main focus is going to be talking about the casual side of organized play. So for those that, have been paying attention, we have two separate structures for OP. Today is going to be all about that casual side of organized play. And I'm really excited to get into it. I do want to let you know, though, we're not going to get too deep into all of the contents and all the things that you're going to see in the organized play kits, because we will have a stream later that goes in more detail about that, and we're going to actually open them up and show you what's in them. But we want to talk more at a high level and just give you an idea of what's coming. So with that, what is casual play? I know we've talked about it a little bit in an article. I've mentioned it in a live stream, but this will focus on two of the three aspects, heavily on two of the three aspects of our...
It's our brand logo.
Yes, our 3 C's of organized play, or C3OP as you see on the screen now. So this will focus much more heavily on the connect and collect aspects of it. Connect as in, we're here playing games, we're spending time, we're ETing. And the collect aspect, because obviously with organized play, we're going to have unique versions of cards, we're going to have alternate treatments, things like that. And you know what? I said the word, I said unique, so I'm just going to drop this right now.
Are you going to make them wait?
We're not going to make them wait. No, I'm just going to do it now because we've already seen it in the comments. I'm going to be talking about unique treatments to cards, not unique mechanical cards. But because of that, let's just talk about uniqueness at the end of the stream today.
I'll do it later.
Yeah.
You can talk about your thing, and then I'll talk about my thing. How's that
So
sound?
we'll give you something else that you want. I hope that you want OP. I mean, not me, but OP. That's important.
C3OP. They want
Yes.
all three. They don't want none of this 2 C's business. They
No.
want all 3 C's.
No, you'll get all 3. Don't worry about that. Tyler wouldn't let me just give you 2. So let's talk about this casual structure. So you've seen the image. We're going to start by talking about the pre-release because that's the first thing that you will be seeing for this game. So the pre-release events are going to be events that will take place the week before the set releases. And I'm not going to slip up and say the release date because I don't want to be, hurt after this live stream. So it will happen the week before the set actually drops. And the important thing with that is it's for every set. This is not a game launch pre-release. This is a set pre-release. It will happen every single time a new set comes out. And with this pre-release event that you will be participating in, you're going to have everything that you need. The stores that you are attending are going to have all of the items that you would see at a typical pre-release event, the things that they need on the back end and the pricing that they would need to provide you. But as a player, you're literally going to have everything that you need to play the game.
So what do I need to play the game? I've never played the game before.
Well, why don't you tell us how sealed works? And
see,
then
now you want to make
I'll
me
tell
talk.
you. Yeah.
Great. Sealed is our one of our main you open the packs and you play the game formats. This game was designed so that game mode would be fun and a primary way for people to play. Like, we want people to be able to open packs. In this case, you'll get 6 packs, and you'll just open 6 packs. You get however many cards that is, and then you build your deck.
Smooth.
And then you...
I get.
and then you build your deck and you play against your opponents, and it's great. You don't have to spend a lot of money on rare cards, and you also have to play something new every time, which is a feature.
Yes.
That said, this is a pre-release for a game that is not out yet, so we understand that obviously most people don't know how to play the game. Not everyone is
Yep.
terminally online like I am. So all of the pre-release kits will have rules. Is it a quick start or functionally?
Basically,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Not the exact
basically.
quick start, but
So yes,
the same idea.
Yep. So that is important because we want to make sure that obviously not everybody who's going to play this game is here watching this stream now and is reading all of our articles. We want to make sure that they have an experience that is just straightforward and almost simple for them, right? Like we want them to have everything that they need out of the box ready to go. And we're going to provide that experience.
Yeah.
And
I've done game launches like this as a player before, and the excitement of nobody knows what's going on is its own special reward.
yes, absolutely. So that is the gist of the pre-releases. Again, I do want to mention these will happen at your FLGSs. Like we are really going to focus a lot of our attention on this casual side of things at that store level. So, talk to your stores once, we have a little more information out about this game to figure out if they're going to be supporting you in playing the game. So moving on from there, we're going to talk a little bit about the weekly play kits and the weekly play program. And I'm going to say it's very obvious, but just in case, I want to nip all questions in the bud. This is intended to be a weekly event. This is something that stores...
Are you sure? It's in the name.
It is in the name, but I'm not going to lie. I would expect a question about it somewhere, somehow. But
This is
we're
the
just...
internet,
Yeah,
after all.
exactly. So this is an event that your stores can run on a weekly basis. And this is something where we are trying to provide the most open and accessible way into this game. So what we are doing for weekly play is, I know play is in the name, so this is where it's throwing things off.
See?
You don't necessarily have to play the game to be a participant in weekly play. We want to make sure that we're focusing on all aspects of the game. So if you want to play the game, great. But if you just want to hang out, build a deck with somebody who's new, trade cards because you're new and you need some better stuff in your deck, right?
Or you're like me and you just enjoy bartering with people and trading cards.
Fair.
I went to a convention recently and spent a whole afternoon only trading with people.
Oh my gosh.
It was so fun.
That sounds great. And you would be rewarded for doing that.
Yay!
So what we're providing to the stores for people that are participating in these weekly play events is you are going to be able to obtain a 3-card booster pack every week that you attend and engage with the game in some way, like we just talked about. So with these booster packs, they will all have some kind of unique treatment, something that's a little bit different about them.
Something
But
special.
yeah, something special. But again, I do want to reiterate, not mechanically unique. These are all cards that will exist in the set. And, well, I guess for the first set, in the set. For every set after that, in the sets. But
Now you're trying to bamboozle
there are going to be
me.
a lot of these, and I'm so excited.
Oh, I know. Don't worry, I'm going to keep making more for you.
Great. And then, like the pre-release, this is something that is going to happen with every set. So, Store Showdown
Yep.
will be our next step. And there is a note for me, but it's covered, so I don't know what it says. So I'm just going to keep on going.
Yeah.
So
We're here to talk about
we're here to
Store
talk about this.
Showdown.
I
We
know, but then
talked
they
about-
write notes and then cover up the notes. I don't know what to do about that. So Store Showdown is going to be the next thing that we talk about. And you did bring it up at the beginning of the stream that I said we were going to be talking mostly about the connect and collect aspects. This, obviously, it is a tournament. So
Did we get it? We got all three? The trifecta? That's not,
we
that's
did
not a triangle.
it
Don't
was
look at me.
close.
There
It
we go, we
was
did it.
it was a very awkward triangle attempt at a rectangle. Rectangle attempt at a triangle. I don't
Don't
know.
worry about it.
I
Don't
don't
worry
know.
about it.
All right. Okay, cool. So with this, yes, it is a tournament, but it is a tournament in our casual tier. So this tournament is intended to be a place for players to come for their first tournament and to get a feel for what it's like to participate in something that's a little bit bigger than a weekly play event where they're just hanging out. So the idea with this is everybody who comes is going to get something. Obviously, participation prizing is going to be something that we want to provide out the gate. But for those that do well in this event, there are going to be additional booster packs and additional promo cards that maybe tell everybody else how well you did in one of these events. So,
yes, so this is the reward for the people that beat me in the tournament, because I won't be winning.
but I do want to point out, you could play in this one.
That's
Because
true.
on the casual side of things, we are going to be able to hang out and participate, which is something we wanted to build into this. This was not planned for the stream, but something that
I got him off script, guys.
Right? You're very good at it. You just get me talking. But yeah, so that's something, because we don't want to lose out on the experience of a pre-release.
And also, let's be honest, I could handle the casual level of competition.
Right.
I could not handle the above casual level of competition.
Same.
And there's a lot of people that fit into that category. So this is for them as well as everyone else.
Right. So yeah, we're very, very excited for just the casual side of things. This is really all we're going to talk about today on the casual OP side of things. I know it wasn't a lot of information, but like I said, we're going to have some kits and we're going to be able to show you some really, really cool stuff once, we get to that point. And we will also get into the competitive side of things, where there's a lot of depth that we'll be getting into. But really, our focus at the launch of this game and our focus out the gate is getting that casual structure built, getting people excited about the game and in the door and just playing.
Well, and because like you said, it's so important to get to have an inviting event that everyone feels like they can attend at whatever skill level they're at whatever interest level they're at. And so I think it's safe to say that this is one of our most important, especially out the gate. Obviously, once we get into it, however many months or whatever into the game's launch, then we can start ramping up the competition for the people that want it. But initially, we want something that everyone feels like they can attend. And as someone who is part of everyone but not part of the competitive scene, traditionally speaking, I'm very excited to see who we get to play with.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I want to reiterate for anybody who didn't, catch the beginning of this stream, or for anybody who it wasn't quite clear for, this is something, all of these events, the pre-release, the weekly play events, and the store showdowns, these are things that are going to happen alongside every single set for the game.
And somewhat indefinitely, right?
Yes.
Yes. It's not like we're going to take a break, after set 1 before set 2 launches, right?
I mean, you're not taking a break, so I don't get to take a break.
You're not taking a break, my dude.
So yes, this is something that will be constant and consistent with this game. Yeah. All right.
Getting people to come to events is really important.
Yes, it
having
really is.
Lots of gameplay. I've met lots of friends by playing at my local game store.
Right. I mean, the casual exists for community building. That's what it is. I mean, I go back, I won't talk about which IPs, but I go back to my time where I was very involved in playing in and then running events at a store. And those people were my family, right? You get really close and you build really good relationships. And that's why this is such a big focus for us, because focusing just on one aspect of organized play, just the competitive side, is really cool. And you get those big grand events and really cool prizing and all the stuff that I'm not talking about today. I'm going to look that I'm not talking about today.
Are you sure? I think the chat wants it.
I can't read anything, so it's good.
Oh, here. This will help.
Okay, thank you. Example of a promo card. I will say, Jedi Geek Girl, we talked about that while we were prepping for this. And I was told no.
Well,
I wanted to give it to you.
To be fair, it will be more rewarding when we have an actual card to show you.
That's fair.
Digital images are all well and good, but nothing compares to the real thing.
Yeah, that's fair. But yes, so I think that when it comes to casual play, obviously if you have any questions, throw them in the chat, and then we can talk about it at the end. But we're going to talk.
We already had a question.
What? The cards?
No, the uniqueness rule.
Well, yes.
I'm
About
transitioning
casual
you.
play specifically. Sorry, you threw me off, and then things are getting highlighted. I don't know what's going on anymore. So, Tyler, why don't you tell us a little bit about uniqueness? Because I know that it's something that they've been asking for.
For weeks,
And
it sounds like.
you, sadly, are leaving me. So this is just the best opportunity to talk about it.
I'm leaving you forever and ever. And I definitely won't be back in like a month or whatever,
I know, but
whenever the
it's a
post-Gen Con
month.
stream is.
It's a month.
I know, it's
I
a long
want
time.
to see.
Honestly, I'm not going to be able to make Gen Con, and I'm really sad about
Yeah,
it.
we were too. But I'm going to be really happy to have Aaron there. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. Aaron's good. Aaron's good people.
Yes.
No. Let's talk about this uniqueness rule that everyone is so excited about. Before I get into it, I want to tell a brief story about how we started with a different uniqueness rule than what we currently have for a pretty big chunk of development. And it worked pretty well. We discovered it had some flaws. But we didn't really consider other options until we started hearing playtester feedback of people saying, hey, this is unsatisfying for X, Y, and Z reason. Can we consider other alternatives? And so we're like, oh, okay. People are asking for something. We'll definitely try it out. And what we found was we tried out our current uniqueness rule and found that there were some people that were really excited about it and some people that really were not excited about it.
I was definitely one of those two sides.
In both of the, well, and the thing is, it was both in our playtest channels and in our internal channels. That like within the studio, we had people who were very passionately in favor of Plan A and in favor of Plan B, if you will.
Yep.
And among our playtesters, we had people who were very in favor of Plan A and some who were very in favor of Plan B. And the thing is, one of them had better gameplay. And
Yep.
in a trading card game, gameplay is so critical because, and we're gonna get to the, I'll get to this in more detail. A trading card game is fundamentally about us making pieces for you to play the game that you want to play.
Yeah.
So, to answer the question that is on everyone's mind, the uniqueness rule is when you have two cards with the same title and they are unique, if they have a different subtitle, they can be in play at the same time. This is not what Star Wars fans are used to.
Yep. Not what I was used to either.
Not what you were used to either. It breaks precedent for all Star Wars games up until this point. But it does solve a lot of the problems that we were running into in the development of a trading card game. And it follows along with the general trends of what trading card games have been doing over the past 20 years, frankly. Other trading card games have had all manner of uniqueness rules throughout time. Over the course of time, we have seen the progression go only in one direction. Because fundamentally, when people put cards in their deck, they want to play those cards.
Right.
So if I say, hey, there's this rule, which is arbitrary but thematic, that prevents you from playing the cards you want, then that means that more people have fewer ability to play the cards that they want. In an ideal world, a trading card game would not have a uniqueness rule at all. And in fact, there are some trading card games that don't. We very briefly considered that extreme option, but of course, nobody liked it.
Yeah.
But like, that's the idea is, if you're making a trading card game, it's really important that you be able to play the cards that you want, regardless of what they're called.
Yeah. And some of us have had to realize that it's okay when we're wrong.
And so that's part of it, is that something that we found when we switched to our current uniqueness rule is that people did start to come around to it because it plays better and for some of the reasons that I will get into, because let me tell you, we talked about this a lot. So we have a lot of thoughts on the matter. So let's talk real briefly about why, right? So I've already alluded to the idea that a trading card game doesn't really like uniqueness as a mechanic.
Yeah.
What we were finding in our playtesting that was a problem that this solved was that our premier characters had major balance issues. Like, when you make a character like Luke Skywalker, you want him to be good. You want people to be excited to play with Luke Skywalker. The problem is, if I can only have one Luke Skywalker out, then whatever I think the best Luke Skywalker is the Luke Skywalker I'll play, and every other Luke Skywalker doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Which means that if I have a really good Luke Skywalker unit, then that means his existence makes the Luke Skywalker leader actively worse.
Yep.
And vice versa. And so it's like, why are we making our main characters actively worse? That's a weird thing to do. It also runs into the issue of, for more casual players, the collection angle. We sort of came upon this situation that once we realized it, we were like, wow, we really don't want this to happen. Who's your favorite Star Wars character?
Oh, geez. I mean,
I'm putting you on the spot.
it's Kanan Jarrus.
Great.
Like, no
Great.
question.
You have a Kanan Jarrus deck. Kanan Jarrus
Great.
is your leader. You're super excited. You love to play as Kanan Jarrus. You go to the game store, you buy a booster pack, you open the booster pack up. Guess who's in the rare slot? A legendary, very, very cool Kanan Jarrus.
And this is all just an example, everybody. He is not.
Him as an example. That card is unplayable in your deck.
Right, if I'm using Kanan as a leader.
Your favorite character
Yep.
is now unplayable in your deck. And so that would feel so bad to be like, awesome, I opened, or even worse, I'm opening this pack, and here's my favorite character. They're super rare, super collectible, and I can't play with them.
Yep.
But they're my favorite character. I want to play with them, but I can't.
But then I have to build a new deck with a leader I don't want to use as much.
Correct.
To include that
Correct.
unit in my deck.
And so we were like, is there a world in which we can make opening your favorite character in a pack always feel good, right? That mattered a lot.
Yeah.
And some of this is because there is an audience who likes to do this thing, right? Like in other card games, and I have done it myself, I'm like, this is my favorite character. I'm going to put every card with that character on it in my deck. And that's fun and feels great to play with, right?
Yeah.
That just wouldn't be an option if my deck can only contain one Luke Skywalker or whatever.
Yep.
One of the main concerns that our uniqueness raises is the question of simulation versus abstraction. The eternal challenge of making a game to an existing IP, right? We need to make our game match the expectations of the audience, and sometimes those, and uniqueness is a huge part of that, right? The various other Star Wars games have leaned heavily into unique abstraction or into simulation at various times to various degrees of success. And our goal is to make the best Star Wars game possible. Now, on the one hand, that means that it should be as Star Wars as possible, which is exactly a goal.
Yep.
On the other hand, it needs to be a good game. And already in the game, in order to encourage people to play the cards that they want, we already have a bunch of abstraction. On the surface, yes, you see the game and you're like, okay, yes, it's the Star Wars card game that people are fighting the other people and it's all the characters I know.
Yeah, some pews and pews happening.
But if you consider like, yes, ground and space are there, but our bases are on different planets.
Right.
So like the idea of where the ground battle is taking place is already somewhat abstracted. The idea that I can include characters from different eras in my deck is already somewhat abstracted, right? Yeah. The idea that Rey and Count Dooku can theoretically be in a deck together, it's bad, but you could do it, is an option, right? And no one is stopping you, and that's not, that is a level of abstraction that that game players are already used to.
Right.
As is the idea of mirror matches, right? It's one thing to say, I have two Han Solos, and it's a pretty similar thing to say, I have Han Solo and you have Han Solo, and they're fighting each other.
Right. And much better than I have Han Solo, so you can't play Han Solo.
Yeah, that's the worst case scenario.
Terrible.
That's the worst case scenario. But if we really leaned into simulation, that's what we would need.
Right.
Right? And so that's what I mean. Like other Star Wars games have done that, where all the characters only exist in half of the card pool, so that you don't accidentally run into that mirror match. So what we found was, what we wanted, the important thing for us in that discussion was, of the details that lead to, or that push us in the simulation and abstraction direction, which ones lead to good gameplay?
Right.
Right? As you pointed out, having a uniqueness prevent between the two players, that's really bad, because if I play my character, you don't get to play yours. However, the two lanes, the ground and space lane, that is very thematic, very simulationist, and also leads to good gameplay.
Yes. Yes, it does. Can confirm.
That was something we added at the very beginning of development, when we were like, what are the important things in a Star Wars game? Ah, yes, ground battles and space battles at the same time. Woo! Return of the Jedi. But also, as soon as we started playing, we were like, wow, this is really compelling. And so it became a core of the game. The important thing for us is not that we make the created narrative of the gameplay be 100% accurate to the films, because that's just not going to happen. Not in a trading card game.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Especially not when we give players the agency to play the game that they want to play. But it is very important that each individual card feel like the thing it's representing.
Yep.
If I say, this is a Luke Skywalker card, you should look at that and say, yeah, that sure feels like a Luke Skywalker card, right? We've seen Darth Vader, the leader. He goes around, murdering people when he attacks, right? That's very Darth Vader. We've all seen Rogue One. And so, as long as each card feels like the thing it's representing, then it will feel thematic, even if the game pieces as a collective group sometimes run into unthematic issues. Because that's just how trading card games inevitably work.
Yep.
Especially in a game with player deck building and deck shuffling randomness.
Yes.
So, to that point, and this is really sort of the heart of not just our trading card game, but really trading card games as a whole, is this game and us making this game, we are making a buffet. We are not making you a meal. We are not making you a curated experience that you then go play. We are making you as wide a buffet of options of things that you might want, and then you, the player, gets to pick and choose the pieces that you like and assemble the meal that you want out of all of the options we have created. So
if I want sushi and ribs,
you can do that.
I can do that.
You can do that, Josh.
Sweet.
So our goal then is to create a buffet that invites as many people as possible. Because fundamentally, games like this really thrive when you have a wide audience of people that all play for different reasons, but they're all playing with each other.
Right.
The more you can segment your audience, the harder it is for that audience to find people to play with. And because deck building exists, we are encouraging you to opt into the gameplay experience you want. Now, no one is preventing you, no one is forcing anyone to put 6 Luke Skywalkers in their deck.
Absolutely.
But by the same token, we don't want to prevent people from doing that if that's what they want. Particularly when it leads to better gameplay.
Right.
And to that end, it is absolutely a design goal for us to encourage that kind of gameplay.
Yeah.
Right? So we already have the you are allowed to mix eras thing, right? I can have a Imperial Stormtrooper and Count Dooku. I don't know why Count Dooku's in my head for some reason, but you can have them in the same deck at the same time.
Yep.
But if we make game mechanics that encourage you or reward you for playing Imperial cards with other Imperial cards,
Right.
then maybe then we are pushing you towards, hey, maybe you should be doing the thematic thing, and encouraging people to go down that path rather than forcing people
Yeah.
to go down that
It's
path.
not a requirement, which is important.
Ideally, and we're making a trading card game, so all bets are off what actually happens. But ideally, the end result would be the good decks feel thematic, and
Right.
the wacky off-theme decks are wacky and off-theme, but not the best possible thing you could be doing.
Sure.
Now, obviously, there's always going to be exceptions to that, and obviously game balance is complicated. But that's at least the goal. We want
Yeah.
to design cards to reward you for playing thematically. We don't want to force you to play a very specific way.
Yep. And I will say, when this was all explained to me the first time, I mean, I was definitely in Camp B.
Oh, yeah.
I was. Like, I'm old school enough that that's what I'm used to. Like, this, it felt off to me. But everything that you've said makes perfect sense. But there was one thing that really just triggered and made me feel like it made more sense to me. So I'm going to throw it out there for anybody who's still maybe a little on the fence. But for me, it was a comment about how everything in this game is a moment in time.
Yeah.
Right? Like, this is what this character, let's just use Kanan for my deck, because it's going to be, every single card is going to be Kanan. And I'm going
But
to
they're all gonna be different Kanans.
reiterate everything that Tyler has said about characters and rarity. That is all just throwing out names and all hypotheticals, so don't get super excited about that. But let's just go with my Kanan only deck. I am having Kanan do this thing right now. But then Kanan might be
Also
in the ghost
separately
or
doing
whatever,
this other
right?
thing.
Like, he's doing this thing over here. So every action that I take with Kanan is still Kanan. It's just what he's doing right here and now. And that was one of the things that really got me thinking, okay, I can get on board with this. And then I was told all of the things that you had told Jim.
Oh, sure.
And then more and more just clicked. And it does make sense. Like, we want a game that feels good, but that is also, like, super fun. And I feel like this came together to become that.
Yeah. An interpretation that I've seen that I think is compelling. Certainly some people latched onto it, and I think it's a good sort of interpretation of the Ludo narrative of what's happening in the game, is if I have 3 Kanans out, it's still one Kanan, but he's very powerful and effective and versatile, and yes, it makes sense that Kanan is over here attacking this character, and then also over here fighting this character, and then also attacking the base over here.
Right.
He's a Jedi, he can do that.
Right? The best Jedi.
Right? Like, and also, separately, another interpretation is the idea that, like, and actually, I'll instead of using Kanan, let's use a better example. Talk about Anakin Skywalker.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
and it is not unusual for players to find, it is not that unusual for Star Wars fans to accept the sort of story that has been told many times by many people, that Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader are different people. It's not literally true, but the way the character behaves is so different, depending on what time of life he is, what context he's in, that it is in a lot of senses like he's a different person.
Yeah.
Darth Vader didn't literally kill Anakin, but from a certain point of view, they're not the same person. They have different values, they have different affiliations, they have different friends,
Yes.
allies.
Yes. Very,
Right?
very
Like,
different friends that then become enemies.
So it would be really weird if we made a card named Anakin Skywalker and a card named Darth Vader, and they were both cards in the game, and you could have them both. But then also, at the same time, you couldn't have Kanan with his eyesight and then Kanan without his eyesight.
Yeah.
Because that is also a different character in a different context with different values and different priorities and different needs and so on and so on. Anakin and Vader are the most extreme version of that, but really that's true for all these characters. The whole idea of character development in fiction is that at various times the characters behaved in different ways and have different priorities and values. And, to your point, this game is built on the foundation of each card represents a specific character at a specific time in a specific context. I could make 3 different versions of Luke Skywalker from Empire Strikes Back, but if one of them's on Hoth, one of them's on Bespin, and one of them's on Dagobah, those are 3 different versions of Luke that are doing different things with different priorities.
Fair.
And this also addressed an issue we were having with our card titles. This isn't something you would think about, but we've shown off Grand Moff Tarkin, right? Grand Moff Tarkin, he's a cool dude.
Nope, leaning the wrong way.
That's not the only Tarkin that exists in Star Wars. There's also a Captain Tarkin from the Clone Wars. There's also a theoretical Governor Tarkin, maybe, I don't know,
Right.
from the Tarkin novel. Right? Like, we could have just gone with the very simple, everyone is named Tarkin, but you lose out on a lot of cool flavor and a lot of cool names. We tried a bunch of naming schemes and presented them to people who were at various levels of Star Wars investment and various levels of trading card game investment. And boy, let me tell you, the more generic and clinical we got with our card titles, the less people liked them. The more we were free to use Grand Moff Tarkin as a title, the more we were free to use Princess Leia as a title. Not that there's a character named Princess Leia, but the more freedom we gave ourselves to do that, the cooler names we could have, and it wouldn't feel weird and arbitrary that like Anakin and Vader can coexist, and Captain Tarkin and Grand Moff Tarkin can coexist, but heaven forbid Luke and Luke exist, right? Luke didn't have a rank, so I guess it sucks that he is stuck by himself, whereas Tarkin gets to coexist, right?
Right.
So this lets us be more specific with our moment in time. It lets us have cooler card titles, and fun fact, it also opened up better thematic design space. Consider Palpatine.
Yep.
The man of many titles.
That's a few in his time, yeah.
To some, he is Senator Palpatine from A Phantom Menace. To some, he is, you're spoiling it. To some, he is Chancellor Palpatine, the leader of the Galactic Senate. To some, he is Emperor Palpatine, leader of the Galactic Empire. And to some, he's Darth Sidious, who isn't Palpatine at all. On the one hand, they could all be named Palpatine, and then we could make a cool lightsaber that goes with Darth Sidious and say, if it's on Palpatine, it's better. Just like we did with Luke and Vader.
Yep.
But that would be really weird, right? That like Darth Sidious's lightsaber is better on Senator Palpatine from Phantom Menace. That's weird.
Right.
Likewise, it's over there now. Likewise, we could make an Emperor's Royal Guard for the Emperor Palpatine of the Galactic Empire.
Yep.
And for a little bit, this guy said, while you control Palpatine, he's better. And it was weird that he was better with Senator Palpatine and Chancellor Palpatine and Darth Sidious. Like, this is... Emperor Palpatine is a different person to the galaxy than his previous versions are. And it makes it thematically more compelling that the cards that would be associated with the Emperor are not associated with the Chancellor, with the Senator, with Darth Sidious. And so, this is the kind of space we get to play with now, is we get to have better more compelling card titles, and also we get to reference specific versions of characters to make the thematic link stronger.
Yeah.
And once we did that, then we were like, okay, we're on to something. Before I conclude my discussion, I do want to touch on something that came up a lot from people that were in your camp of this feels weird.
Yep.
Which is, okay, so we don't have, we're letting you cross eras, we're letting you have multiple characters with the same title, we're letting you have the same character fight themselves, ostensibly, right? Why even bother with uniqueness at all?
Yep. Why does it even exist?
After all, I did say earlier that an ideal trading card game wouldn't have uniqueness, right? Because you would just play the cards that you have, and then everybody gets to feel good about themselves. There are useful values that uniqueness brings to the game, even though it is on a version by version basis, not a character identity by character identity basis. And the biggest one, to my mind, is that it lets us influence card balance. If I can only have one Kanan Jarrus in play, of that specific version of Kanan Jarrus, that card gets to be slightly stronger than a non-unique card at the same cost point with the same aspects and so on. Because there's this additional restriction of I can only have one.
Yep.
So on the one hand, the card gets to be stronger, which is great for a reason I'm about to say. On the other hand, it lets us put abilities on cards that would be dangerous if you could have multiples of them in play. right?
Yep.
There's a lot of these like, oh man, this is a really cool, fun, compelling game mechanic that we put on this card, and if I have 2 of them, the whole metagame breaks.
Right.
So we just slap them on a unique card and we're good. This is Star Wars. We want people to be playing with characters they recognize, with people they like. It is so much more rewarding gameplay if the best decks revolve around characters that you recognize with names and personalities, and not Death Star Stormtrooper and random rebel guy.
Challenge accepted. I'm building a good, competitive, recognizable Stormtrooper deck.
Got him. You get back to me. You get back to me when you do that.
It's not going to happen.
So to that end, if we get to make our unique cards stronger, then that means they're going to be in decks more often, and games will revolve around them more. Mm-hmm. And this will be a game of Count Dooku fights Kanan Jarrus and Han Solo at the same time, and not my Stormtrooper is slightly stronger than yours, Rebel Soldier, and that's why I won.
Right.
Because that's not compelling. That's not these characters that we're attached to, facing off in a sort of hypothetical no eras arena. And to be clear, we want to encourage, I said this already, we want to encourage people to play thematically. There are lots of design spaces directions that I will not be specific about that we are exploring to help encourage that. It is a priority to reward people who are opting into this.
Yeah.
And making our unique characters stronger is part of that. Also, it makes them feel special. If I can have 3 copies of the same canon in play, he doesn't feel special.
Right.
He just feels like a proper noun attached to a game piece, right? In the way that Death Star Stormtrooper is a noun attached to a game piece. Mm-hmm. So even if I can have different versions of canon in play, if each version is exclusive to itself, he still has a sense of specialness.
Yep.
And related to that, the honest answer is there's enough characters in Star Wars that this is going to be true most of the time. Mm-hmm. That like most decks, unless you are actively going out of your way to build a meme, which I will absolutely do, your deck is probably not going to contain 6 different Luke Skywalkers.
Right.
Because, yeah, they maybe all synergize with each other because Luke has a particular character and he's probably going to, do similar things. But it's unlikely that they are going to fit so well as to dominate the build of what your deck is.
Right.
And much more likely that, I'll have a Kanan deck and my Kanan deck will feature 1 Kanan unit. And sometimes they will be in play at the same time, but most of the time they won't. And when they don't, it's just the uniqueness rule you would expect of I can only have 1 Kanan now.
Yep.
So what we found is, to sum it up, given that we want to encourage people to opt into the gameplay experience that they want, we found this uniqueness rule gave us the best gameplay, sacrificing the least theme, while acknowledging that it does sacrifice some theme. Mm-hmm. And it gave us a lot of really interesting design space that I cannot wait for you all to see. We got to show off the Emperor's Royal Guard, which I'm very excited about, and also, that's just the beginning.
Yep. Sweet. Well, Tyler, thank you for that. That was more detailed than I have ever been given.
I was going to say, you were like, oh, let's just tell them what the rule is. And I'm like, I'm going to give you a whole video essay on it.
Oh, there was a bulleted Word doc that I saw yesterday that led to what this is.
Yep.
But no, I think that it's very important that people know it. I know a lot of people, like we mentioned at the beginning of the stream, I think people had already even commented before I mentioned it at the top of the stream that they wanted to know what the uniqueness rule was.
There were enough questions last time that I was like, can we talk about this? Yeah. I think it's important.
Yeah, so I'm glad that you now know what it is. And when it comes to content that we prepared for today, that's it.
Yep.
But there were a couple questions that we do want to get to. The first of which was regarding weekly play and what format that falls into. So weekly play is going to be up to the store's discretion. That being said, when we provide these kits to your local stores, we are going to let them know that we expect that those are going to be used for anybody who's participating at all. So let's say I'm running a store and I have a group that wants to play sealed every single week that they come in. I'm going to run a weekly sealed thing, and
Sounds great.
when they sign up,
I'll sign up for
they're-
that.
Yeah, exactly. They'll get their booster packs, and then I'll throw them an OP promo pack because they're playing, they're participating.
Sure.
But
It's not
if
a thing
you
you have to win.
are sitting in the corner and you're trading cards
With all my
with
buddies.
everybody else
Everybody
that's
that walks
not
by, no,
playing,
you come here, you come here, we
exactly,
gotta trade.
you are still participating.
Yeah.
So as a store, we don't want them to limit what you can do, but we want them to make sure that they're doing what's best for the local community. Because maybe there is a community where everybody wants to play sealed every single week, and that's perfect. You give them all a pack. But
They
when
what they want.
little Timmy shows up, little Timmy comes up a lot in my conversations, by the way. But when little Timmy shows up and he's just not
you
quite
know
ready
Little
for an
Timmy?
event, no, but he's just the name I go to
He's
as
just
the
lodged himself in your brain like a brain worm.
He's that young new player to any game, little Timmy.
Okay.
But yeah, when Timmy shows up and he's not ready to play in this, sealed event, he doesn't know how to do sealed, but he's got his, deck box full of cards and he's excited to get more. He's absolutely participating. And we want the stores to recognize that. So whatever format they're doing, everybody should be involved.
As an aside about that, I think this doesn't get talked about enough. So I want to get on my soapbox for a minute and say, building a deck for the act of building a deck for a trading card game is actively playing that game.
Yes.
Like, deck building is part of the game experience. So I love that we, and by that I mostly mean you as the person that decided this, are encouraging that. Like, the idea of, hey, if I just want to show up and spend a few hours hanging out with my friends, building decks, having them help me build decks, helping them build decks, that is actively playing the game in a way that is, in my opinion, equivalent with, shuffling my Galaxy deck and dealing them out, right? Like,
Yep.
That's for you, audience.
Yeah.
For you. You see what I did there?
I heard what you did and I tried not to smirk, but then you called it out.
That's it. That's my soapbox. Deck building, we consider it to be a part of the playtesting process. It absolutely is also part of the playing process. So.
Yep. And we want to reward that.
Yeah.
So, yes. So, yes, stores can decide what they do during weekly play, but that should not exclude anybody from the prizing for weekly play. And then the next question, I'm happy this one made its way out here. I'm not going to get into details about it, but the question was asking if there was an option to get demo decks from the demo decks from Gen Con around the rest of the world. So with that, I do want to clarify one thing first. Playing in a demo is not receiving a demo deck. You're not going to be able to leave with one of those decks. That is for the experience. But playing at Gen Con, you will get unique promo cards that will... no, you do not have them. I don't have them yet. And we're getting close. I'm so excited.
A cool, I don't know, out of my sleeve reveal, he says, with the sleeves way rolled up.
So with that, that was the clarifying bit first. But Gen Con is the first demo experience that we are going to have. We are working with, as everybody knows, we're a global company. We are working with our local distribution units that we partner with, and we are going to be running demo experiences any and everywhere we can. So we do have a lot planned already in multiple languages even. I'm throwing the word out there, in multiple languages even. So yeah,
That's bold. That's bold of you to come.
I know. I said it.
Stream casually.
I said it. But yes, that experience will exist outside of Gen Con. We want to make sure that we allow as many people to get their hands on this game before the game comes out, to get that first exciting experience, and then get those cool promo cards that you can't get anywhere else.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Yeah, the more people we can get playing the game, the better, in my opinion.
Yes.
Because then they'll fall in love with it.
Exactly.
Let me tell you, I'm a lifelong trading card game player, and I have not... This is one of my top games. Obviously, I'm biased, but also, the game's really good, you guys.
Well, it's a good game, yes, but we're both huge Star Wars fans, too. So not only is it a great game, but it's a great game in an
And
IP
Star
that we
Wars.
love.
And Star
What did I say? Oh, and Star Wars.
Yeah.
You threw me off. Oh my gosh. I thought I said something else.
You're safe.
Whew, it's been a long day.
It's only, what, 2 o'clock?
I've been working European time today.
You poor fool.
But yes, so great game, great IP. We're on the same page again. But I don't see any more questions that were thrown out. That doesn't mean that there weren't more questions. It just means that we weren't able to answer some of the other questions.
But come back in
A couple weeks.
2 weeks.
Yep.
And some of those questions will be answered.
Yep. So yes, we will be back in a couple weeks. We're going to be prepping for Gen Con.
Get
And
hype.
I'm very excited about that. So yes, please join us again then. Sadly, I say us, it'll just be me, not Tyler.
I'm so sad.
But
I'm so sad I'm going to miss Gen Con. It's for a good reason, but also
it
sad I'm going to
is.
miss Gen Con.
It is. And you should be. But Tyler, thank you for being here. This was great. You were wonderful at explaining a thing that I hated until it was explained in the way that you explain it. So thank you for doing that. Again, with regards to OP, if anybody has any questions, feel free to throw them in, the chat for our upcoming streams. I love talking OP, so I will do it whenever possible. But thank you all for joining us today. We will catch you next time.
Peace.
Bye.